I'm really excited to be able to talk about what we did, our Lakehouse on Azure Databricks. With me is Scott Meyer. He's the director of the Data and Analytics Service, part of the Financial Services Center of the VA. Do a lot of great work. I'm Kerry Moore. I'm the SA that works with Scott and his team, supporting the VA, CMS, and a little bit of one of the other defense cells, DHA. With that said, we're going to start off with Scott. We're going to go to the next slide here.
You want to drive? You want me to drive?
I'll drive right here on this one, right? So just
Cool.
While I get here.
All right, well, thanks, Kerry. And, I really appreciate Databricks for giving us the opportunity to come here and kind of talk about what we're doing in the federal data landscape, especially as it pertains to supporting a significant part of our population and their stakeholders. I'm pretty sure that everybody in this room either is a veteran, knows a veteran, or has a personal relationship with a veteran. And so it's really important, the work that we're doing in support of all of our population. So I hope that maybe you guys were able to catch my colleague John Scott's presentation earlier in the day, where he was talking about a lot of the challenges with VHA. I'm going to kind of talk about some of the rest of the organization. So if you'll kind of roll with me, I'm going to tell a story here and talk a lot about actually the VA.
Well, that's great, Scott. Well, I mean, we know a lot of things, you and I both, about the VA, but I'm sure the folks out here in the audience probably don't have as much information about the Veterans Affairs. So could you tell us exactly what the VA does? Yeah.
So, basically the VA's mission and its motto came from President Lincoln's second inaugural address, and it really is what still inspires our purpose today. But as a veteran and as a member of the VA, I'm pretty confident that the general public doesn't really have a good understanding of the scope of our organization. So next slide, please. And with that, I'm going to kind of answer Kerry's question about what is the VA. So, while Veterans Benefits has been provided to, since the Revolutionary War, it's not until the 1930s that a veteran-specific agency was created. It's called the Veterans Administration. And then about in 1982, what we call the fourth mission was added, and that is where the VA supports the general public, non-veterans, and that was never more important in the last 2 years during COVID, when our hospitals opened themselves up to the general public. And then in 1982, we were finally elevated to a department level. So we're now a cabinet level department run by the Secretary of Veterans Affairs, and he is, put in his position by the president. So now this slide, it's going to give you a really, make sure we got the run. This is a really high-level view of our department, right? The VA has 3 administrations. And we basically, we get appropriations both in mandatory and discretionary. And it basically has over 400,000 people that provides care and support for our benefits, both in healthcare and the benefits that we are provided. You can see on this slide, it says we have 19 million vets and 25.5 profiles. Well, the reason behind that is every veteran can be participating in more than one health or benefit program. As a veteran myself, I've benefited from like the GI Bill, loan guarantee program, disability compensation. Kerry, probably one day I'll benefit from the cemetery administration, but I'm really trying to put that off for a while. So you can see that we have the Veterans Health Administration. And most everybody, that's what you associate with the VA. When you hear VA, you think VHA. And that makes perfect sense because it's the biggest part of our organization, and it is the largest integrated healthcare system in our country. All right, but actually the majority of our funding goes to the VBA through its mandatory programs that are listed there. And then when we talk about the cemetery administration, again, to clarify, they are the active cemeteries that are currently incurring veterans. If you think of some of the historic cemeteries, they're generally run by states or Interior or somebody like that. So, I'm going to put this in context, and this is going to be an analogy that might be slightly hyperbolic. But if you think of all the different data types that are involved in those types of programs, for us to do some analytics on it, it's akin to, I would say, combining Ascension Health System Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, Northwestern Mutual, Social Security Disability Program, the largest education program in the country, CalPERS, and then some vocational readiness and employment activities, and then of course our cemeteries. And then Congress, of course, changes our laws and our appropriations on an annual basis, and we're supposed to respond to that. And all of those that are in the federal space, you're probably very, very much used to that. And then, of course, like John mentioned earlier, the VA is in the middle of trying to sync with the DoD, and that comes with its own challenges because of integrating all of our different systems. So, Kerry, that is the VA.
Wow, that is a really complex, vast, and diverse organization. But what does that group that you manage do? All
right, so the FSC, the Financial Service Centers, is a franchise fund. And that is another concept or entity that's not well understood either. All right, franchise funds were created in 1984 to the Government Reform Act of 1994. And there's only 6 of us in the entire federal government. We're unique in that we do not get any appropriations through Congress. All of our funding comes through our service level agreements with our customers. All right, and so that's pretty much what the FSC is. Being a part of the FSC is really key to our success, and the reason I say that is we're able to operate across the entire VA, all the different administrations. We can support them all, and in addition to that, we're not constrained in supporting just the VA. We can actually support all federal agencies, even outside of our parent department, so that's a big advantage as well. And then we have IT appropriations, but as a franchise fund, we have our own authority to invest in technology to create the products that our customers need. And DAS as well, one of the advantages we have of being a part of the FSC, if you look at the kind of the org chart and the directors on the bottom, it's very advantageous being in the FSC because all of the different programs that are run by the FSC. We're kind of the back office, if you think of it, the financial office for the VA. And so the programs that we have direct access to the data are all the credit card programs, all of the payments that go out to support veterans that get care in the community, all of those healthcare payments that go to providers comes through our shop. Billions and billions of dollars a year in vendor payments just for procurement of activities that help support the VA and how we do our business. Everything to do with travel. We have all the programs that are associated with VA and travel. And we've got a new system. It's the Financial Management Business Transformation. We are taking our 40-year-old COBOL system, and we're upgrading to an Oracle system. All right, imagine the challenges with that as well. And then all the accounting and financial services that we have, like financial reporting and the accounting for the VA, all of that is at the FSC. So as an organization, my group, the biggest part of any kind of analytics is getting access to data. We're in a very good location by having direct access to these programs.
Yeah, so I kind of think of you as almost like a consulting organization within the VA and the FSC to assist other organizations to create data analytic services, right?
Yeah. So if we can go to the next slide, our program, we started kind of like as a proof of concept. We did some really insightful, visionary people that I had on my team a few years ago. It took a couple of years. We were a proof of concept. It took a couple of years to get the necessary funding, to get the infrastructure we needed, some of the skills we needed, and develop a proof of concept and show that to our leadership. With the success of that and with some additional investment they came and supported us on, we developed ourselves as a full service, the data analytics service, which we call DAS. And we only did that in October of 2017. So we really are a very young organization. We're still in the maturation process. We started with 7 staff and about 15 contractors supporting us. And today we have over 80 staff and contractors. And our skill sets, include our data scientists, architects, engineers, our data and business analysts, testers, and subject matter experts that work on a variety of different products that we provide. So if we go into the next one, and again, for those of you that, I think we were one back. Oops. You guys are probably used to seeing this if you're used to working in the federal landscape. I included this slide to just kind of show that there are a lot of legislation that's created, every few years that provides the construct of the work that we're supposed to do, not only for analytics, but security. These are just some of the foundational legislations that basically help us in what we do, kind of direct our efforts for the VA. And in turn, those legislations become key parts of our secretary's priorities and initiatives, and that's how we support the VA.
That's great.
And then in that next slide, I put this in here because this is some of the fun stuff we get to do. All right, as I mentioned, we're like 80 people in an organization of 1,000 in a department of over 400,000. So, we're tiny. And in less than 5 years old, we really needed to better understand the landscape of what's out there in analytics. So we really started to network and become involved in other parts of the organizations, both internal to the VA and external to the VA, and networking with other professionals in analytics across the federal landscape really helped us kind of understand where we needed to go as an organization. And these are just some of the really cool things that we get to do because of that. And, I would say that it's really helped us because it's helped us grow with our customer base because we've become a known entity. And case in point, I'm sitting here with you talking to everybody today, and it wouldn't have occurred if we didn't have this opportunity to grow in the awareness of our program.
Yeah, and you guys have done that very well.
So this slide's just kind of it's our core product and service offerings. Right, we with the continual advancement of analytics, including like visualization products that have made citizen analysts a lot more prevalent. We're constantly kind of redefining and recreating ourselves so we can say what is our greatest value to our customers. What are the skills that we have that are hard to come by in the federal landscape? And as we've heard nonstop through this summit, everybody's competing for the same talent. We're the federal government and we're competing for that same talent, but we may have more challenges because we're the federal government. So we have to stress what the advantages are working for us instead of working for private industry where we may not be able to compete with salary. We compete with some of the benefits or our mission. And we have a team that I would, say is really stacked up against a lot of private industry, but it's also coming because we've been, helped along by a lot of our consultants and partners on this one. So this kind of gives you an idea of who we are. These are lists of our products. All right, like I said, we currently do analytics in finance, healthcare, supply chain, and that financial management, business transformation, that Oracle system that we're getting and replacing our COBOL system. We do business intelligence on that. Most of all of our products are internal facing to the VA, but they do have a downstream impact on veterans, whether it's on care or whether it's on the greater utilization of all the funding that we do from Congress. So this is just kind of a good illustration. There's more, but we have like I said, we have a vast knowledge of subject matter expertise across my different departments that we have within our service. And I like this slide. This is our little bubble chart. I put this in here because, a lot of people, we relate to the visualizations. This is just an example of a lot of the different data sources that we ingest to develop our products. There was some more bubbles, but it started to overtake the slide, so I just kind of stopped. But what this really does illustrate is the data and the data types we have. There's so many different, if you think about it, the variety of data we have that's got different velocities and veracities. It's just, that's the challenge we have, is just the differing sources, both internal to the VA that we're pulling in and external data that we're pulling in, and then trying to ingest that and make it make sense for the products that we're creating.
Right, and it's like almost the perfect situation for the Lakehouse.
Yeah, and I like to brag on our team. We got a really strong team and they possess a wide breadth of knowledge. You can tell by this slide, this is what really enables our success, whether it's in programming languages or the certifications, tools and platforms, or just being able to adapt working with different partners like Microsoft Azure in the cloud and Databricks, who's been a great partner for us. This is really why we've been successful. It's why we are well positioned to support the VA and grow in our involvement all across the entire department, and like I said, even with possibly other federal agencies.
Yeah, that's great. Take a look at our architecture.
So yeah, this is an eye chart, but it's on there actually kind of more as a placeholder for me to shift the conversation from the story I'm telling to help everybody understand who the VA is to actually the technology part of it, and that's where Carrie's going to take over right now. Like I said, I've been describing the challenges facing us due to all the different data that we have, and we needed an architecture that would enable us to pull in all of those different data types, utilize it, and really start to make sense of all the frustration we have in trying to work with all that data. So at this point, Carrie, I'm going to let you take over and kind of talk about all of what Databricks brings us and the use of the cloud and supporting our products.
Right, and I think it's really good, and this is kind of how I wanted Scott to lead off with the talk, because the technology is the technology and the platforms, but it's really neat to know the organization, what it's trying to accomplish, and how it is all different and bring this all together. So that's where I wanted to cover implementing the Lakehouse at the VA and how it's, it's sort of mentioned as a term, but this really is the implementation, I think, of it in action. We wanted to really cover the 4 major accomplishments that we were able to accomplish last year. Accomplishments, but so we were able to work with the Integrated Veterans Care Organization. We were able to do some machine learning and do some actual time series forecasting on their budgeting. We also did a really neat Lakehouse development for the CFO Dashboard. We also have been constantly, it's just a constantly occurring thing where we're getting data that's coming from on-prem and your existing systems, and we're moving it into the cloud so that we can then take that data and start to apply all the future and the additional skills and help to offer your clients and the veterans a greater value from the data more quickly. I think if you were to look at any Azure Databricks implementation, your architecture would look a lot like this. On the left-hand side, you have data sources that have to come from an on-prem system or some other type of external source, and you have to get it into the Azure Data Lake. The VA here at DAS has been able to do things with sort of existing technologies like the Azure Data Factory, but also sort of create some of their own pipelines and custom programming to get the data out of the system and get it into Parquet and drop it into the Azure Data Lake. As you can see, there's different pieces, but it goes through the bronze, silver, and gold medallion architecture, as we like to call it. So we're taking the data from its raw sources, we're manipulating it slightly into the silver layer, and then we're providing some additional curation apart from that to make it sort of highly available and useful for the end users for like their real-time and self-service analytics. As you can see, it's basically data staging and migration and transformation and serving. But also the neat thing about Azure Databricks is that it was the very first FedRAMP authorized ATO in all of Azure. So Azure offers the FedRAMP High technology. So that's a really cool thing. We're like, really excited that, we're at the forefront of the federal government.
I mean, come on, we're kind of proud of that, right? I mean, helping you guys get FedRAMP, but that's what's been really important about our partnership. You guys are helping us, and we always want to, in kind, help the people that we're working with. But it's good to know that all of our efforts actually are supporting people outside of the VA as well. So we're pretty excited about that accomplishment.
Yeah. So
and actually, I got to tell you, it was on the front slide, but everything that we've done together has resulted in DAS receiving, DAS receiving the Fed Health IT Innovation Award 2 years running. So, and we really appreciate all the support we've got that's been able to provide us that opportunity. So,
Yeah, that's really cool. So the first accomplishment was, actually it's really quite available, the REMA, time series forecasting. There are technologies like Profit and different data models. But what we tried to do, or what was actually done, was taking information about the services provided, claims, and being able to turn that into a time series forecast so that they could actually use it for operational predictions of what type of services were going to be needed in different hospitals.
Yeah, so I mean, you see the slide, it says OCC. This is about the nature of VA. We changed a lot and changed fast. OCC no longer exists. They changed their name to Integrated Veteran Care, but they've been one of our customers for quite some time. That product, what it's doing, it's helping the 171 VA medical centers be able to utilize their resources properly. We're able to look at authorizations and spend patterns and be able to tell them exactly where they need the funding and move that funding around in the different medical centers so they're optimizing the support and the care for our veterans.
And you're probably wondering, big deal doing time series forecasting and whatnot. But like every good innovation, it starts off small and then it gets productionalized. And so that's what we were able to do with the Azure Databricks and the application. So we took what existed as a model. It was on a single platform. And we were able to both increase the amount of time and then also the efficiency and speed of being able to deliver that product. And all of that happened because it was in the cloud. But it started with an innovation, and then it was just improved with Databricks and in the cloud.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean that tool has been so important for us because it really helps us, predict changes with all the changes in the Mission Act and Veterans Health Care. It helps us be able to properly react to the dynamic cost changes that we're constantly seeing.
And it took advantages of a lot of great technologies, like if people don't know about the Spark UDFs and the ability to do all these models in parallel, we're able to, as you could see, we took it down from 1.5 hours on a single platform to less than 20 minutes. So you can run that constantly. The next one we wanted to talk about was the CFO Dashboard. This one is kind of near and dear to my heart because this has a lot of great things about it. So it used to be that they had done the first POC on-prem. I think there are, 10 instances of SQL Server that support the CDW. And again, in this particular case, they had the data coming off of the financial system. And it was taking them 10 days to process this because it's a multi-level hierarchy, lots of different organizations that have to, feed together. The data was really large. I think in some cases there were like 750,000 documents for the years, and then some of those you had over 1 million transactions associated with that. So the fact tables ultimately ended up in being like 2.5 billion rows for that time period. So obviously this was a perfect case for Databricks and being in the Lakehouse. So you can see from that slide, graphically, we reduced the time to deliver that by 274 times. I mean, from 10 days to less than 3 hours. Like, I'm sure you could use some of that time, wouldn't you?
And that was actually the first innovation award we got because of the work you guys did that. And we got some people here in the audience that were key in helping us. Yeah. And it's great seeing them here.
Working on the shoulders of giants. Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but this was really cool. And I told some of these statistics before, but I think some of the key things too was using Delta and basically, taking full advantage of Databricks and the capabilities that they offer. But it also required some effort to talk to engineering and to understand, to get that type of throughput performance. But then also when the Power BI was interacting directly with Databricks as a back end. So, we say we can do the report serving. We can actually do the report serving, and this is an example. We were able to take that direct query down from I think it was 90 seconds to less than 2 seconds by performing some of these applications.
I mean, that job was failing constantly. We could never actually complete it. So that's what we needed to do. So the really cool thing, though, Carrie, I want you to talk about, and this is, again, something that we're very proud about, being able to benefit the entire tech world. You guys did some stuff with that, and what came out of what we learned from that?
With my background in data warehousing, I always used to have these, rules of thumb that you could go and always apply. And when I tried to improve the performance of this dashboard, it wasn't quick and easy. So it actually resulted in a blog of me writing and was published and had a lot of hits of how to implement all the delta optimizations to make a star schema work very quickly. And that actually was pretty well regarded because it was just 5 simple steps. But just putting those 5 simple steps all in one blog was very helpful. The other neat thing that was really cool about that was with the direct query results coming back from Power BI, they had to do sort of an aggregated dashboard and then sort of a drill through dashboard. And that drill through dashboard actually ended up spawning a video from a guy in the cube, one of the Microsoft experts who talks about Power BI and implementations. And so it's a video. So not only are we helping you with some of these firsts, you guys are actually also forefront of a lot of other people in the same technologies.
Yeah, of course, the guy in the cube couldn't give us any kind of attribution, so I understand that. And like John said earlier, we got all kinds of problems that can that help people come up with solutions. So that's not an issue.
Right. So another accomplishment, and this is probably very similar to all of your organizations, is in order for you to leverage data in the cloud, you've got to first get it into the cloud. And another big benefit of Scott's prior talk is that you get a sense that there's a lot of different systems, there's a lot of different data types, all sorts of organizational demands and understanding. So getting the data into the cloud is obviously the first step. But to be able to increase that velocity, get that data in more frequently, productionalize it, is a significant accomplishment. Just being able to get the data there and staged and ready is fantastic.
So I want to stress, and I think the next slide there, Carrie, I want to stress again, we got a ton of data. But everything that we do, of course, is dependent on data, but it is always the end result of trying to help our veterans. Some of the challenges that we have as being kind of a back-end shop, that we don't have that direct veteran-facing impact. Sometimes it's hard for our staff to maintain that direct, intimate relationship with the mission of helping veterans because we don't see veterans. We're in the back end. So it's, every time that we have an opportunity to show some kind of impact, with the direct veterans, or, a couple things that we've done in the past, working with the University of Texas Master's Program in Analytics, we've done some capstones where we've worked on veteran suicide and on the over-prescription of antibiotics. It really brings that mission back to helping a lot of our team members to realize, okay, this is what we're doing. We're here to help veterans. And I know I say that a lot, but that's our mission. That's who we are. And sometimes when you get just embedded in the data, you can forget about why we're actually doing what we're doing on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's great. You guys are doing a lot of great work. And so the last one I wanted to cover was we actually did a hackathon. So the FSC and DAS were looking for different ways to leverage the platform and to demonstrate how getting data into the cloud and using the modern technologies would benefit. So one of the things we thought to do was to develop a hackathon. So we had 3 teams comprised of both Microsoft and Databricks and the current contractor there on the DAS team, all divvied up into 3 teams. My team was second. But what we were able to do, we worked on a problem that a lot of people are probably familiar with. It's the miscoding of claims. So basically, as people come in and provide claims in the coding, they could misuse the codes, they get the codes incorrect, all these different things. So they thought right now it's just a manual process. So how can we turn that to an automated, or could we automate it? I guess that was the purpose of the hackathon. So we had 2 days to do this, 3 teams. The data was provided and staged, and we had it all ready to go. We used the AutoML capability. We had basically labeled data, and then we used the AutoML capability across the 3 teams. Actually had 1 day to develop the models and do all the data manipulation, the feature engineering, everything we had to try to figure out on the first day. On the second day, we had another half of that day to actually demonstrate what we were able to accomplish. So we were getting scored on ROC and the AUC, or the area under the curve. And so we were able to actually rerun that data set against that test and validation set, and then present the results in the last half of the day. The last team was able, or the first team, I should say, the first team was able to achieve a very high score I think it was 87% accuracy and an ROC of 62%. But the neat thing was that we were able to do it in a day on a very consistent problem.
So our partners over at VHA, as the Office of Integrity and Compliance, brought us the use case and basically all of the data necessary to do this. So again, it was a huge team effort. And that was the first foray for us to go into something like a hackathon. And we're really excited about doing that again later this year. We're going to increase our scope. We're going to increase our participation. And anybody out there that's actually in the federal landscape, if you want to participate with us, whether as just, kind of observing or being participants, get in touch with me and see how we can possibly collaborate on that. And so, Carrie, that's our presentation. So as much as we've grown and we've innovated, we're really just scratching the surface of the art of the possible for the VA. As I stated, we're a really young organization. So some of our future activities include maturing and optimizing our organizational alignment, investing because of the skill sets are hard to come by, investing in our people even more to make sure that we have the appropriate knowledge to continue to grow. But really, as everything changes and technology changes, it's really just trying to stay up on top of things. And working with you guys has been a great partnership in helping us to be able to leverage all the technologies necessary to do what we need to do to support the VA.
Hi, thanks for this talk. So 2 slides before this, you had like a little note that said you're using custom Python scripts to phase out Azure Data Factory. Can you explain why you made that decision?
Sorry. I am hard of hearing.
I think the custom Python scripts, that's basically the question, right?
Right, to replace Azure Data Factory.
Yeah, so at some point, and maybe there was trying to get the data out of like SQL Server and other different systems. Some of them have ready connectors in Azure Data Factory, some of them did not. And so you actually had to develop something that you could then take the data out of some form and put it into Parquet and drop it into ADLS. It was more or less the contractor's choice of how to implement that. That could have been CSV, it could have been any other ways, but they basically wrote the script to take that out and put it into Parquet and drop it into the Azure Data Lake storage. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I was curious why you're doing that.
This is Databricks? Oh, we are using Data Factory. It was just we're using Data Factory a lot for like SQL Server and other things. It was just for some of these source systems, they weren't able to attach Data Factory to retrieve from it. So they had to develop some sort of custom routine to be able to take the data out and put it into ADLS. Sure.
Custom is a big word for us, if you can't tell.
But,
All right, thank you very much. If you have any further questions, I'm sure that you won't bite. And, they'll be available afterwards.
Hang out.
Please remember to rate and review the talk as well. And I think that there's a 10-minute break before the next session begins. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.